It's okay to be afraid. In fact, some people enjoy it. Welcome back. I'm Christine. This is Mike. He's a mummy, and I'm a zombie. Am I terrifying? Did you know that you can channel your fear into meaningful art? What you're able to create after tapping into your fears might actually surprise you. So grab your sketchbook because it's time to explore fear and take your art to the next level. Let's embrace the ugly. I'm grabbing my Sharpie creative markers for this one. And you know what? Everyone is afraid of making ugly art. But here's the thing. Ugly isn't a bad thing. And I'm going to show you why. For this idea, I started by drawing random rectangles bursting from the center of the page. Then I added another layer on top of that. After that, I created a spider web and I outlined my original shapes. My goal is to be as imperfect as possible. Once I'm happy with how it looks, I repeat the same process in other sections of the web. Why do we automatically think that our ugly art is bad? Why are we so afraid of not being perfect? The truth is that imperfections are what make art more interesting. If you find that your art is boring or lacks emotion, it might be because you're trying too hard to make it perfect. And that's where this sketchbook idea comes in. Right now, this spread might look messy, but the key is to let go of judgment and just keep adding layers and details. The more you add, the more interesting it becomes. Layering ugly art shifts the focus from perfection to process. It encourages experimentation, which will encourage you to accept your mistakes and allow them to become something unique. Over time, you'll find that as you practice making ugly art in your sketchbook, you'll build confidence and accept ugly art and imperfections as part of the process. And I say practice because it's not easy. You will feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. To wrap this up, I grabbed a Post-it note and I wrote a quote about finding beauty in everything. It's just a little reminder for myself in the future. After I stuck it in, I moved on to the next spread. I started by drawing a circle. To show how fear builds up over time, I started to layer each one on top of the previous one. Layering them represents how they can build up over time and feel heavier. I repeat this process until my entire circle is filled with fears and they're very difficult to read. Eventually, all of the fears lead to the middle, where I'm drawing a black hole. The black hole represents how fear can feel consuming. It's like a force that pulls everything in, distorting your thoughts and emotions until it's hard to see beyond it. I chose this exercise because it gives you a way to acknowledge your fears in a safe, creative space. Right at the center of the black hole, I drew a heart. The heart represents the things that bring us joy. These are the things that make us feel alive. Fear can block us from experiencing those things, shutting us off from the experiences that could make us feel the happiest. To help accept my fears on this spread a little bit more, I'm just doodling on top of them and adding a bunch of color to make it look less frightening. For me, there are so many things I've been afraid of, and I usually just tell myself that it's easier to ignore them. But in reality, I'm just holding myself back from learning something new or experiencing something that I might actually enjoy. Our fears are challenges. When we embrace them, we either find a way to overcome them or learn to live and accept them. Did you know that when you dream of a house, it actually represents your mind? Each room can reflect different emotions, experiences, or even our fears. That's why for this idea, we're creating a haunted house. It doesn't have to be detailed. I'm going to create this house out of sketches and scribbles and blobs and different shapes. In order to get started, I'm using my gouache for the background and I'm going to draw on top of it. I always dream of haunted houses. I'm pretty sure they're about me trying to escape my fears or just challenges that I don't want to accept or face in my life. Some of the fears that I am personally always dealing with are the fear of rejection, the fear of losing control, and the fear of being too much. I tend to avoid facing these things because I don't like feeling vulnerable or uncomfortable. I think that drawing the haunted house from my dreams is a great way to acknowledge these fears without letting them control me. Like the last prompt, the goal here is not to get rid of these fears, but to illustrate them, to give them form and acknowledge that they exist. The creepier and more unsettling your drawing is, the better. And if you're having trouble creating a creepier drawing, just incorporate more scribbles and rough, jagged lines because that seems to work really well with the creepy aesthetic. To make this a little more fun, try drawing the monsters lurking around the house. We're not going inside to face them head on because that's where they have the most power. But by the end of the next sketchbook idea, you should have new tools and a fresh perspective to make these monsters a little less scary. And it's gonna be so fun. I just got such a great idea from this. What about an entire video about using gouache and combining it with scribbles to make some fun sketchbook art? If that sounds fun, go ahead and give this video a like and let's jump into the next idea. It's time to draw the monsters from the last idea. But instead of making them scary, we're going to make them a little silly and give them all stories. The monsters that drive our fear only look scary because we don't know them. But when we acknowledge them and take a closer look, we can see that they're just a little misunderstood. So let me introduce you to the monsters that cause most of us trouble on a daily basis. Monster number 1 is called the Worry Wumpus. The Worry Wumpus is a bouncy blue creature that thrives on overthinking. His rumbling stomach is full of anxious thoughts, which can be mistaken as growling. As you can imagine, having a diet of only eating anxious thoughts creates quite a stomachache. Since he's always digesting anxiety and different fears that cause us to overthink, he's actually an expert of turning your worries and your fears into happier, more digestible thoughts. Next up is the Spookaroo. Spookaroo is a fluffy orange monster that embodies the fear of the unknown. With big, curious eyes, it hides in closets, longing for friendship. Oh, it's so cute. Despite the spooky hiding spots, Spookaroo has a cheerful spirit and is eager to encourage others to embrace the unknown and go on adventures. Spookaroo loves to tell stories about adventure and bravery. It likes to talk about how when you embrace the unknown, it can lead to new discoveries. It actually wants to inspire you to step out of your comfort zone so that you can find that even the scariest places are full of joy and friendship. The name of the last monster is Snargletail. Snargletail is a fuzzy green monster that represents the fear of failure. It constantly trips over its own tail, breaking things in the dark. It also tends to fail at almost everything, but Snargletail sees every mistake as a chance to create something new. It loves to turn mistakes into a fun game, but usually scares us away because it's always knocking things over at night. But if you can get past that and have a conversation with it, it'll teach you how every failure is just an opportunity in disguise. These are just a few monsters that I was able to come up with. Have a lot of fun with this sketchbook idea and see what your fears and what these monsters might be trying to teach you. I think you'll be surprised with what you can come up with. This is the part of the video where you get to create whatever you like, as long as it represents the feeling of fear. I'm going to be using my Hippie Crafter paint for this. It is a highly pigmented artist grade paint, and it's amazing. Before I talk about the meaning of this painting, I want to point out that I'm using a lot of the tools that we talked about earlier in this video to help me confidently finish this painting. Instead of focusing on each object individually, I'm filling in the shapes in layers. Now, when it comes to creating with acrylics, layers are very important. As I add more layers, acrylic painting becomes easier because it's a repetitive process that allows my mind to relax. Instead of getting stuck on imperfections or thinking that something needs more work, I just see it as another layer that I can build on. It's kind of like building a house. Each layer becomes a foundation for the next. The more that you can relax your mind and continue to build on those layers, the easier it'll become to accept the process and push away perfection. Applying this method will also help you eliminate the fear of getting started. As you break down this process into manageable steps, there's less pressure to be perfect, and you'll enjoy the process more. Now back to the meaning of this painting. I wanted to create something that shows how fear makes me feel helpless and blind to the beautiful things around me. So I drew a snake wrapped around a woman holding her in a chokehold. I also glazed over her eyes to show how she's trapped in her thoughts and can't see clearly. Even though the meaning and concept of this painting is dark, the contrast of the colors make it look beautiful and interesting to look at. Normally a painting like this would take me days to complete, but because I shifted my perspective to the process that I talked a little bit about earlier, I was able to complete this in 2 4-hour sessions. And that's because I wasn't stuck in my head. As a result, I not only created something that I love, but I also created something that I truly enjoyed creating. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and watch this video next. It's all about creating art when you're stressed, and I will see you there. I will not be dressed as a zombie though, and Mike will look normal. Although, I kind of like him as a mummy.